Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club, and it is finally time to finish off our Estes Doorknob here. There are a few little last minute things to do. In the intervening time, I finished putting all the decals on, which was, more or less successful. These little metallic ones were uphill pretty much the whole time. Not all of them, like this one, not all of them ended up exactly how I wanted. Some of them, like this one, tore a little bit. But honestly, like from a distance, it looks pretty good. So, when you get in close, it's less impressive, but still, it's not bad. We can live with it. There are quite a few things, as I said, to do, just little last minute items. One of them is we're going to put the rail buttons on. We haven't actually done this on video anyway. So the rail buttons are how we're going to launch this thing. Instead of using a launch rod, we're using a rail. And these little black sections, you can see they've got, well, it's a button, right? It looks very much like a button. This part is going to slide into a groove in the rod. And we're going to have two of them, one here and one back here. And they're going to guide the launch. These ones come with flanges. They're going to go on the underside, so this one's going to go interior to the rocket. This one is actually take the nose cone off because I don't need it right now. This one is going to fit. There we go. I've already cut the hole. You can kind of see it there. There it is. So I'm going to push it through from the bottom. I'm actually going to start with this one. So I drilled all these holes out, and then I tested to make sure the flange would fit in like this. That's obviously not how I want it to go. But it's a good way to test to make sure it fits. They are, of course, going to go from the underside up. So this one, actually, I need to clean this hole out a little bit. It's pretty good on the outside, but the inside has kind of the leftover issues from the drilling. So I'm just going to kind of smooth that out a little bit here with the hobby knife. Hopefully I don't have to do that on the upper part because that's going to be a lot harder to deal with. Anyway, I'll take the flange here, line it up with the hole that I drilled, and push it through. Lining it up with the hole that I drilled, actually proving slightly more difficult than one would expect. So this one I've placed pretty much right at the bottom, as far as I can get it up the tube. But this is still, there isn't much tube here, so this is kind of weak. I'm just going to punch that through again. This is, it'd be nice if I could drill upwards, but that's not really an option given where it is. There we go. There. Now it's through. Alright, to then assemble it, there is a flat side that goes down, and there's a round side that goes where the screw goes here. And I'm just going to hand tighten this for now. You really don't want this incredibly tight. The instructions on these packs actually say to epoxy these in place. I don't generally do that. I'm not really sure why you would need to do that. There is a reason why you might consider epoxying it on the underside, especially on the interior part of the tube here. You might get some benefit out of that to avoid the shock cord snagging on the way down. Now this one is going to be a bit harder to do, honestly, because I'm going to have to stick my hand pretty far up the tube. So I definitely want to be sure that this hole is as cleaned out as it could be. So I'm just going to run the hobby blade around here. And I did drill these out with a power drill. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell you in the instructions what size the hole ought to be, which is, it'd be delightful if it did. So I ended up drilling the hole a whole bunch of times before the flange fit in it nicely. This is actually a case too, like my hand barely fits in this tube. So I have farmed this workout to people with smaller hands on several occasions. So my wife has done it, and I've used children labor to do this as well. I've got my hand in here, and I've got the flange pushed into it. I'm actually going to turn it upside down, I think, because it's easier to push down, you know, with gravity than against it. But this is not the easiest work either. My hand just barely fits in this tube. It's actually easier to do this if you happen to have, there we go, a slightly bigger hole, but I really don't want a slightly bigger hole. I want the correct sized hole. Anyway, that's in. Thank goodness, because that wasn't super fun. I'm going to again hand tighten this, and I also made sure that I'm doing this after I clear coated it, because I don't want to have to worry about screws getting clear coated. Anyway, it looks pretty nice. That's done. Next thing that needs to happen is I need to put the motor retainer on. Might as well just grab all this stuff. These are the last bits that were in the bag for this kit. There are 1/4-inch launch lugs. I'm not going to use these. Shock cord, we need that. Shock cord mount, we need that. But for the time being, here's our retention system. This goes right on the tube like so. And we need to, well, the instructions call for epoxy, but we don't really need epoxy. Crazy glue will be fine. So I'm going to put some crazy glue. I'm going to put it on the tube itself. I'm going to put it a bit back. I don't need it right up at the edge. And I don't really need all this much either, that's fine. Alright, be careful with the crazy glue, of course. I'm going to put it back, squish it, twist it, and that's probably good enough. You could, if you wanted to, sand the inside of this. You'd get slightly better adhesion, but I mean, that's locked in place. It's not going anywhere. Epoxy, probably a better tool, but not really that important, honestly. It'll be fine as is. I do need to tighten that though, because I can see that the flange pushed some of the tube material that I drilled up that way, so it's not really lying flat. I do need to deal with that. This, when we use it, just screws on like so, but I'm not going to do that now. I can't imagine that there's any crazy glue that got out, but I don't need to take that risk. Alright, last little bit is to deal with the recovery system. So this is the classic Estes 3-fold shock cord mount. Not sure how I really feel about this particular shock cord. It's pretty heavy for an elastic, well, for an elastic band, but ones of this size, I typically have seen them reinforced, like nylon reinforced plastic, so hopefully this will hold. It probably will. Honestly, I mean, the rocket itself is not that heavy compared to some others, but still. Alright, so 3 stripes of glue. It's actually a pretty long shock cord, so that's pretty good. And fold it over. Squish it flat. Glue is a little clogged. Let's see if I can do something about that while this is setting up. Okay, it's actually not super great. Same deal again. Try to put a little more glue on this time. 3 nice stripes. Fold over. Crease it flat. Squish it down. Should be, just want to make sure that this is as flat as it's going to get. The glue is obviously not completely set, but yeah, that should be fine. Alright, because I'm doing this after the rocket is finished and painted and all that, I want to make sure that I don't have any glue on my hands if I can help it. So a little bit of paper towel to clean that up. There's a little bit, it's mostly off now. Probably going to get some glue on this point, but I really need that to be at a minimum. I'm going to put 4 nice stripes of glue here. That's all I need for that, so close and get it out of the way. This is, of course, going inside the tube here. Typically, I would say in as far as you can reach, but I can reach really far into this. What I am going to do is I'm going to make sure that it is on the opposite side from the button, because the flange inside there could potentially get snagged, like maybe, but probably not. Something I want to avoid. But I am going to put this in fairly far. I need to make sure that at least the, probably farther than that, that the nose cone goes in without any issues. And the nose cone is pretty long. The cuff of it, if you want to call it that, is pretty long. Several inches, at least 2. So I have this in pretty far. And I push down. Seems pretty good. Alright, I'm going to let that dry just over here. The last bit then is we got to deal with the parachute. So this is a nice nylon parachute. It's not the plastic parachutes that your typical model from Estes use. So this is nice. The drawbacks to it are it is slightly, it's not harder to pack, but the way the chute is designed, it has, let's untangle everything here. That's pretty tangled. All right, it actually has 4 shroud sets, right? So it's not going to be possible to line them up so that none of them crisscross. That's just not going to happen. So I'm going to do my best to line them up so that they're, there's going to be a cross in one of them, but just try to keep that at a minimum. No extra tangles necessary, like right now I've got that twisted. There we go. Alright, so there are my shrouds. I'm going to take them all together. Typically, I would also use a barrel swivel in this, one of these fishing lure guys. And I have managed to force them into one of these big ones, but that is not a lot of space right there. They barely fit. So I'm going to forego that this time. So that is a bit of a downside as well. Instead, we'll just gather them up like this. And this is a huge hook here, or eye, there we go. So that's not really a problem. So we're just going to run it through the loop in the nose cone, and then the parachute is going to go through that hole that we made, that loop that we made, and then pull it tight. There we go, and chute's attached. Last but not least, find the end of this thing. Here's the end. This is going to get tied in as well. This is not anything new or different. I'm going to put a whole bunch of just overhand knots in it. Hopefully that'll hold pretty well. Usually, at least 2, but I think I've got the space here. I've got enough string, so let's do like 4. Should probably be enough. Alright. All this I'm going to slide back like this, so there's nothing to get caught. There's a little bit of plastic goop here, like debris. It's cleaned up enough, I guess. Alright, so this is it. I'm not going to pack this right now because I want to make sure the glue inside there is totally dry, but this is done. I'm looking forward to flying this. It flies on E and F motors built by Estes that are black powder 29 millimeters. I have some Fs of those, which are surprisingly expensive. The alternative is that it'll take 24 millimeter motors, composite ones, if you happen to, E and F of that size, if you happen to have the 24 to 29 millimeter motor adapter, which is pretty nice. It's just a piece of plastic, but it does allow you to use 24 millimeter motors and a 29. I also have some 18 to 24 ones, which are also nice because it lets you use 18 millimeter composite Ds instead of the black powder Ds, which is also nice. Gives you some versatility. Anyway, this should be good to fly. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next build.